What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Box Out Boys. I'm Joey the Lawn Boss, Two Shots, Krowski, and joining me tonight, it's Chris, the Stats Man Gorman. Hit it with the stats, Chris.
Hi. The ones that got this week is stat on Basketball Reference called the Simple Rating System, a team rating that takes into account average point differential and strength of schedule. The closest to zero is average. The Nuggets, who are currently first in the West, are ranked 7th in SRS. So take that as you will.
Maybe a little teaser to a topic coming up later in the episode, perhaps. And as always, joining us, our super producer. Well, not as always because he missed last week, but our super producer,
been a while.
Adam, the professional Bruns. How are the levels tonight, Adam?
They are fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, it's just Chris and I tonight, so you're getting another dose of a little two-man game. We've got a true big man tonight, not just Titus and I. We're mixing it up. We're a little shuffle here. We got a good episode coming up next week for you. We're going to do our annual Christmas episode next week. We were going to do it tonight. Titus is down with safety protocols, health and safety protocols, as Chris was last week. So we got the bug running around the crew here, but we're pivoting. We got ourselves a good little 5-question lineup as always. But to start off, I think it's probably best, Chris, I'll let you go first on this one. And then I'll feed off of it because if I start, we may never end. But reports came out yesterday. Shams broke some news, followed up by Jay Crowley, Casey Johnson from the Bulls, beat reporter, confirmed everything. But major drama in the Bulls locker room. Multiple player meetings, one-on-one meetings with Zach and DeMar, a blow-up, I guess, at halftime of the game on Sunday between the Timberwolves and the Bulls. Just kind of chaos all around in Chicago here. So, Chris, what's going on in Chicago? What do you think? What do you feel? What's the good word from your side?
I think this is healthy. I'm glad they did this. Sometimes in a relationship, you need to air out the dirty laundry. And you have situations like this. It's been the most open secret in Chicago that Levine does not like to play defense and doesn't really help very well off the pick and roll. And it's kind of nice that finally someone's called him out. And that's kind of what I've been hearing from this is like Goran Dragic, DeMar, unnamed guys, but that's who I'm assuming probably actually stepped in to say something. They're expecting more from him. He's a $200 million man now. So he's got higher responsibilities. And if you actually want to take your game to the next level, you need to play some defense. And I think this can only be a positive. So it's short-term drama, but honestly, it's for the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I think the proof is in the pudding, right? They came out immediately after all these reports broke and put a good game up against the Heat. Granted, the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry playing in that game, but the defense was much better. Zach looked engaged. I liked how you said too. It's been, what is it, the worst kept secret or whatever it was. That Zach's effort level has not been there, especially on the defensive end, and that's always kind of been the case. I think he's gotten by just with his pure athleticism. But at times when they've needed it this season, right, they're missing their kind of floor general in Lonzo. They need all the effort that they can get. He just wasn't providing it. And I think a lot of this stems from that. I think also it stems from obviously losing 4 in a row up to that point. And to be completely fair, this isn't a Zach Homer thing. It's not all on Zach, right? Them losing 4 in a row is not purely a Zach LaVine thing. But when you get the $2.5 or $2.25 million or $225 million, you've got to at least give effort, right? We can understand bad games here and there, but you got to have a little bit of effort. The more glaring thing to me, I wasn't so concerned that the players are having meetings and they got a little feisty. Like that's fine. I think that's healthy. The more concerning thing to me is that the team is reportedly saying that they have skepticism in the coaching staff and Billy. And this kind of leads me back, and I've been kind of harping on Billy maybe being a problem for a while. But the more that I thought about it,
with Billy.
I did get aggressive with Billy. I stand by it. What I started thinking about was if the team was as confident in Billy, the organization was, then why was his contract extended in secret, right? I would think like if there was far-reaching support from the players loving him and everybody is happy with what he's doing and there's no kind of qualms, like wouldn't you announce that and kind of make it a thing? I don't know. So the fact that like it
That
was
is
a
weird.
secret,
What is it? How many contracts have been announced in secret before? Like, wouldn't you be proud to extend
right?
anybody?
Hey, he got us to our first playoffs in 7 years or 6 years, whatever it was, and led us to a really strong record, first in the East for half the season. Blah 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 blah. Like you would point out all these positives, and especially when they were selling us on continuity, right? That was the whole thing. We're not making deals this offseason. We're sticking with continuity. Hey, we're also extending Billy. We've signed Zach. Like lean into it. Lean into your selling point that you gave to us. So I don't know. It just felt weird, and it also like. I don't know where that quote came from, right? Where the skepticism came from, but if the rumor mill was flying, the team was mad at Zach, you would assume that the reporters probably tried to get a quote from Zach, right? Tried to get his kind of word off the record or whatever it was. And at that point, if you're Zach, you're going to deflect and say, "Yeah, we had a disagreement. Oh, but by the way, the whole team hates the coach because Zach and Billy had their differences, right? He got benched in that one game, and Zach went after him." So.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems all kind of like it's kind of chaotic, kind of messy. I think good overall, but those rumors are not going to go away anytime soon if they don't string together some, competitive games and obviously start winning actual games.
And the one wrinkle, because we were talking about the Timberwolves a few weeks ago with their turmoil that they had early in the season with Gobert and Edwards going at it. The one thing that they didn't have going at it, nobody was going against Chris Finch, from what I can remember with that feud. So that's what makes this a little different. Is like they're going after the coach, but also Levine went after Jim Boylan too, which to me that's probably for good reason. So just to see it happen again, it's like this is kind of you're just recycling the old. Maybe it's you, man, a little bit. I don't know.
That's a great point. I forgot all about that, but yeah, he did have a couple famous blowups with Jim Boylan. But yeah, I think like you said, for the better, that was probably warranted. But we talked about this a lot of times before, right? Zach thinks he's the man, and maybe he could be, but until there's some consistent effort from him, it's going to be hard to get on Zach's side right now, right? He's not.
I wanted to throw a question at you. Who would you rather the Bulls trade, DeMar or Levine right now?
DeMar. Because I think the return for DeMar would be more great at this point.
That's so weird because of the contract, right? So
right, I think because of the contract, right? Move. I think DeMar would be your move if somebody needs somebody like DeMar for this final push, a team that's kind of at the end of their window that just needs one more guy to push them over the edge. Like, I don't think there's a lot of teams that are going to want to saddle themselves with Zach's contract. And I mean, how do you sell, hey, we just signed this guy to $200 million, but we can't get him to give any effort.
No, I don't think Levine's actually going to get moved. That was kind of silly.
No, I don't think the Bulls are going to have anybody move. Because if you're not in Chicago, but all right, the story broke yesterday. It was all anybody was talking about on sports radio. Then they won the game last night, and they looked good, right? It wasn't just a fluke of a win. They put everything together. They looked like a competent basketball team. And today they were back to talking about Justin Fields and the Bears. And it was like, okay, it's over. So I don't foresee much happening, sadly.
Bummer.
Okay. It's the Bulls and the Sox, man. Same teams. Give us continuity.
Well, let's move on.
Sell us continuity and then do nothing.
Another bummer of a topic.
Let's do it. Let's go on. Question number 2 for the night. Injuries. A couple big injuries. One lingering. Chris, if you want to touch on it briefly, the Karl-Anthony Towns injury. So he went down a couple weeks ago. I don't know. Rudy Gobert didn't play on Sunday. I didn't see if there was anything long-term with him or if that was just kind of a veteran resting.
But he's back. He's back right now.
He's back. So Karl-Anthony Towns, question mark on the Timberwolves. Quick quick thoughts on that? Anything? Any timeline for his return?
And take your time. The team looks a lot of fun without you. I hate to say it, but it's looking good. Like every day, I want to talk about this more about next week because we have an awesome question I want to harp more on next week's pod. But the more I see this exciting Edwards team without Cat and without Gobert, it looked like a fun team. You were realizing Edwards' potential even more. But what I'm hoping is like you can gel with the players that you have, and then maybe incorporate Cat. I feel like maybe having all of them at the same time wasn't as advantageous. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws with it. But the point is, they're 16-15. They're fine.
Yeah.
And Carl, take your time. It's fine. We're in the middle of the season here. We need you for the stretch run.
Question back for you from your last question to me. Would you trade DeMar for Cat?
No. There was a question on the low post that they wanted that he facetiously said it. He was just like, yeah, I'm just going to throw this out here. Towns for Trae Young, straight up.
Who says no? Atlanta says no.
Both, and definitely the Timberwolves, because Trae Young's a very specific player, and he's great in the role that he's in with Atlanta, where you can shoot 30 times a game. But like that kind of guy, like
sure.
They don't really adapt. Like Iverson went to the Nuggets. We all know how that kind of turned out.
Right,
stuff like that. I don't know.
Fair. All right. So pivoting though to the actual big story of injuries from the past week, Anthony Davis. Down with a foot injury, not a lot being released on what the actual injury is. I did see that they're seeking second and third opinions on it, which makes me think that the first opinion was not so good. I did see one article. I couldn't really tell if it was legitimate or not, but saying that there's a fear that it's the same injury that Chet Holmgren suffered, the Liz Frank injury. So
I have that article up right now. I think,
do you basketball forever or whatever? So a lot of question marks coming around Anthony Davis, but as of now, out indefinitely. Chris, how big of a deal is this for the Lakers?
The Lakers were looking fun, man. They're 13-17 right now. They're about to get back to being 500. They beat the Wizards. Everyone's beating the Wizards right now except the Timberwolves. And Anthony Davis was a huge part of that. I didn't even realize he had only played 25 games this year. He averaged 27.4 points, which was the most he's years. He was 6th in MVP rankings, according to Basketball Reference. At that point, he was looking fantastic. Everyone's reminded why Anthony Davis was good. We all got to realize that for like a week and a half. And then we realized why forget that, because this guy hasn't played more than 62 games in 5 years. He's played 25 games so far, over under of 40 at this point. Is he gonna play half a season? Like you said, they're relaying this injury to Chet Holmgren, and I'm still like with Lonzo Ball right now being hurt. Whenever you don't know any information about an injury, just assume the worst. And since we don't know a timetable for return right now, we just know it's at least a couple more weeks. I'm scared. Lakers might be done. To be honest, this year, like I'd just be over because Anthony Davis is hurt again.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's fresh in our minds as Bulls fans, right? Yeah, the less you know, the worse it is. The more rumors you create and fears you create. But I think you're right. A couple weeks ago, right, we talked about is Anthony Davis for real, right? Real in our real or fake segment. I think I said real, but I think I put the stipulation on there of if he can stay healthy, and he had stayed healthy for most of the season. I think he only missed maybe 2 or 3 games up to that point. But yeah, this is a big deal for them. You're basically asking LeBron to give you, the LeBron of 4 or 5 years ago. And he's shown in flashes this year he can do it, but he's at his best when he doesn't have to carry the load, right? When he doesn't seem like he's carrying the load, he somehow still manages to in points, but it's a lot more, I'll say effortless, but that's not right, but it's effortless for him when Anthony Davis is doing the hard work. I think if this injury does turn out to be a long-term thing, i.e. more than 4 weeks, more than a month, I think you do see the Lakers get aggressive in the trade market. Like they've got to find a way to move Russell Westbrook at this point because they need some sort of asset in return. But I mean, yeah, I think you're right, Chris. If this is longer than a month, a month might even be enough to do it. But it's gonna be tough. So yeah, they're 13 and 17, like you said. I think they're the 13th seed
17.
at this point. So yeah, so
12 or 13 doesn't matter. They're out of the play-in right now.
Yeah, they'd have to overcome Golden State, Dallas, Minnesota, and Portland to kind of find their way up into the midst of the middle of the pack for the play-in tournament. And I don't know about you, but those 4 teams seem like they're probably going to be more consistent here in the long run than the Lakers, especially in Anthony Davis Lakers. So I think there's some panic. I'm panicking in a happy way, but there should be some panic in
especially because the Warriors are the 11th seed, and so that means the Jazz are going to fall out, and who else falls out?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
is it point? Yeah,
is it the Mavs? I don't think so. Not with Luka if he's healthy. Timberwolves. I mean, the Timberwolves have found some consistency, right? They found a way to win, and Portland, sneaky Portland. I wouldn't bet on Los Angeles over Portland at this point. All right. Yeah. We'll see. So
80 was fun, but it's over.
80 was fun, but it is over. And I'm thinking my prediction of Lakers missing the playoffs is still alive. All right. Next one. So staying in the Western. Say that again.
I said pessimistic Joey coming through again.
Yeah. Hey, if you want good bets based on negative outcomes, listen to me. All right, staying in the Western Conference. Currently, the Nuggets have the number 1 seed, owning the tiebreaker over Memphis, over the Grizzlies. Real or fake, Chris? Are the Nuggets a true number 1 seed? And just to add, we've had this conversation about 2 or 3 teams now. So, who is it?
I kind of like the real or fake segment. I like talking about it, and I think it's something we should always try to waver in every now and then. So obviously I said at the start of the pod that their simple rating system, SRS, is really low. Jokic is the MVP favorite. He's probably the most fun highlight guy. I think every average me and every other average, person who watches basketball and thinks they're an amazing passer idolizes Jokic. The problem with this team is still have no defense. They don't have a timetable for Michael Porter Jr.'s return, and or like if he can even stay healthy overall. Aaron Gordon's had a career year, to be honest, so they're looking great. But they're 25th in defensive rating and they're 3rd in offensive. Net rating is 11th. Zach Lowe likes to call this team, likes to be like how nobody's talking about this team and they're overachieving. The thing is, when this team gets into a 7-game series, I'm not afraid. Anybody can beat this team in a 7-game series. I feel like the Timberwolves. If the Timberwolves play the Nuggets, I kind of like the Minnesota's chances a little bit in that. So I think this is fake, and I really think they'll be like maybe the 4th or the 5th when it's all said and done. After 30 more games.
Yeah. So just some background after that. So there's 8 teams right now within 3.5 games of the Nuggets as the number 1 seed. The Grizzlies are tied record-wise. Suns are 1 game behind, Clips 2, Trailblazers and Kings 2.5, Jazz 3, Timberwolves 3.5. So there's a tight pack right behind them.
It's only 3.5.
Right.
That's 2 Spurs wins, a Thunder win, and another bad team that they lost to win away from being the 1 seed.
Yep, pretty much. So with all that being said, I'm going fake as well. And I don't know if it's based on the fact that the Nuggets are not that good. I think it's more of that the spread behind them is too tight. I think with the teams that are behind them, there's going to find one team that's going to go on a heater. The Suns are only 1 game behind. The Suns have fallen on, we'll call it hard times. 19 and 13 is not hard times for most of us suffering through NBA hell.
That's the thing, right? I thought they were
but,
way
like,
worse than that. They're not
right.
that
They
bad.
lost like 4 in a row, and it was like, oh, the Suns are in trouble. And you're like, well, they're only one game out of first place still, so it's not
They're
really that
still
bad.
the fourth seed. Yeah.
I think your point about Michael Porter Jr. is huge. That's a piece I think they have to have. So I think it's fake number 1 seed. I do want to add though, or talk about. So you said right in a 7-game series, what happens? I think you're 100% right. You look. I forgot the name of the book. Mid-range theory, right? There's a whole chapter in there about guys who are great or teams that are great in the regular season, and then terrible or vice versa in the postseason. I think the Nuggets are one of those teams, right? Without Michael Porter Jr., they're not totally one-dimensional, but they're a little bit one-dimensional. Jokic is a dominant player, but he's not necessarily take over a game by himself kind of player, I think. He can post up, but that's not where he's most effective, right? He's most effective playing the passing game and letting other guys move around. And in a 7-game series, right, someone like Minnesota who has options around, like there could be some trouble brewing for that. So Titus isn't here. I wish he was, because we'd be getting the exact opposite comments, I think, completely of us. He'd be all over his Nuggets fandom. But I think it's fake. And I would still be watching the Suns. And the fact that the Clippers, after starting as poorly as they did, are only 2 games behind them is wild to me.
Yeah,
there's some teams on the up and up here in the West, and
this is why it's good to have 3 people for a pod, because then you usually have somebody that like has a different opinion. But
the dissenting opinion
with you on this, like, when you need someone to dissent, we don't have a dissent right here. Jokic is probably my favorite player watching the league, and it sucks that I like him in the Blazers series like 3 years ago was one of the best series, but just
a primo big man.
Like you said, they need Jamal Murray. Maybe if Jamal Murray can make another step, be healthy, or get fully back, they can take the next leap. But until then, they're faking it right now.
Well, let's roll that into our next question. MVP race update. So we've got Jokic, right, back to back. Does he repeat? Is there a new?
I had an award tracker right now. If you want me to run through it,
let's do it. This is the basketball reference MVP award tracker. Okay.
So Jokic probability right now is 47%. Giannis is at 15. Luka at 11. I don't understand these numbers. This is completely different than what I've been seeing in like DraftKings. But they got Tatum, Durant, Domantas Sabonis, which is awesome. Anthony Davis, RIP, Donovan Mitchell, Curry, who we haven't even mentioned tonight, and then Zion at number 10.
Yeah. That was a good injury. We should have talked about Steph too. So I think Basketball Reference does their MVP tracker based on stats, right? And it's a algorithm that like takes all the past winners and their stats when they won and compiles it and says like what's the average stat line needed to win the MVP, and then looks at who's closest to that stat line in the current season. So I think your DraftKings and stuff are probably doing more of like a eye test type poll thing, but I agree. All
right, so our favorite is Tatum, Luka, Giannis, Curry, and Embiid. Yeah,
that seems much more palatable. So how much, I guess, tying back to the last question, how much do you think record makes a difference in this conversation this year, especially, right? Because the slight to Luka is going to be his record isn't going to be as good. Giannis, Tatum, and Jokic are going to have the records.
Right, and then like someone like, record. All these guys have good records except Curry. I think that's why Curry's not number 1, because he's having better than his unanimous MVP season. Yeah, but right. But I guess Luka. Sorry. So it's Tatum right now, and then maybe Giannis. Kevin Durant's going to come into the fold. We don't want in-game talk, but they are killing the Warriors right now. It's stupid how much they're winning this game. So Kevin Durant can really come into the fold a little bit more. I don't feel like it's gonna be Luka. Luka looks miserable in Dallas. When I was watching against Minnesota the other night, Anthony Edwards had a ball against Luka. and they're playing again right now in game talk. I'm not going to talk about it.
Keep talking.
I don't think Luka's going to get it. I don't think Tatum's going to get it. I still like a dark horse like a Kevin Durant or I guess I like Kevin Durant. This is weird.
So let's do this. So the 4 that I have, right? So it's a no split for Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, and Luka. We agree those are probably your top 4 legitimate candidates.
Jokic, Giannis,
Tatum, Luka.
Yeah, but I said Durant's my number
Okay.
1 really, or my future number 1. Like he's
Let's
not number 1 right now, but like he could get there. He had that fist pump with the little kid. He's getting some positive PR again. Who knows?
So let's go through and take out this player from that team, and you tell me if that team stays at the same level through the rest of the season, right? So Jokic goes down with an injury. Do the Nuggets maintain their current level of play without him?
No, they're done.
Okay. Giannis goes down with an injury. Do they maintain their level of play?
They maintain a certain level of play. They've looked pretty good without Giannis.
Yep.
It's weird. Yeah.
Tatum goes down.
I think they could still hold it a little bit. Yeah. It's all about 3-pointers with that team.
Luka goes down.
No.
Not a chance, right?
Yeah.
And Durant goes down.
No.
But so I always kind of like to look at it this way, like MVP is right. Who is the most valuable to their team? It's kind of like the year when Joakim Noah was like getting MVP votes, and it was like, well, if you took Joakim Noah off a team, would the Bulls actually be like really terrible? And like, yeah, they might have been actually really, really terrible. But I think for that reason alone, I think Luka might get it. Like that's got to be like, I don't know. They don't have like WAR in basketball, but Luka's like wins above replacement would have to be like an astronomical number, like not even close, right? You take him off that team and it's
his win shares and his VORP. Yeah.
VORP. So I
He's
still
got
like
a 5.1 win share already. Man. Yeah.
Is that highest in the NBA?
It might be.
I don't know. I feel like too, there's a narrative to it, right? Luka he's dabbled, right? Last year was supposed to be his year. It didn't work out, but like, does he get the narrative this year where he came in healthy, he's carried the team, he's been really clutch?
What's the lowest seed that the Mavericks could be where you can see Luka still winning it?
Good question. Oh, like 6? Like if they're in the play-in, can you consider an MVP play-in?
6? No, I was thinking. I think they need home court, so I think at least 4.
At least 4? They're not getting
10
a 4
right
though.
now.
They're not getting a 4.
They can beat this. They're better than the Suns. Suns are the 4.
It's going to be tough to give it to someone like Jokic or Giannis when they're valuable.
I don't think Giannis is going to get it just because Marchand Beauchamp does enough. Feels like for that team when Giannis is hurt. It's so weird.
But, random player alert. Chris is called out.
Dude, he's so
Beauchamps. It's like the Pokemon Machamp or whatever. All right.
Machamp.
Machamp. All right. So do we actually have a definitive MVP race update? Are we in agreement? Should we try and
who are the you said there was 3 that I said that if they were off the team they're going to be bad. It was Luka, Durant, and who else? Jokic. Those are the 3,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
So if we're betting right now, those are the 3 we would bet on, I think. And I really like Durant as a dark horse because he's still at plus 2,000 according to covers.com.
I would bet Luka first. I would bet Jokic second. Durant
Luka's
third.
plus 280. Yeah, he's the
It's going to be hard to ignore. It's going to be hard to ignore the 30-point triple doubles and all the flashy stats and everything that he's going to do.
But Tatum is still up there just because the Celtics are most likely still going to be the number 1 seed. The only guy we have not talked about I've seen his name a lot is Devin Booker. Poor Devin Booker, man. He got 58 points this week, and we didn't even care to mention that. And no money on that. No money on Booker. We're good. Best shooting guard in the league.
The narrative's not there, right?
The Suns are a weird team.
Well, So let's just think about this. So Russell Westbrook won MVP in 17-18, right? The Thunder ended up 48-34. And what seed were they? 48-34 clinched the 4 seed. So maybe you're right. The 4 seed has got to be. I mean, that's probably
Luka. Yeah,
that's probably the best comparison in recent memory of an MVP season, right? Like the Thunder
carrying
weren't
a team
that
on your
good.
back. Well,
like,
I think
right.
when Jokic won, they were the 3rd seed.
Yeah,
the Nuggets were.
Jokic winning 2 in a row, I think is tough. I think it's going to be tough to give him a 3rd. I just don't see.
No, I'm saying like
media.
Luka is a good comparison to what
Yeah.
Jokic. I think it's even more fair because with Russell, his star player left him, and it was like a revenge kind of.
Luka's never had
season.
A star player.
I mean,
I put my money on Luka.
I'll take Durant then, because just maybe it's recency bias, but like Durant, everyone's talking about how Durant can't be stopped, and it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot Kevin Durant is very good at playing basketball, and he's in the prime of his career right now. You know what? Fuck it, plus 2,000. Put $20 on that, I can win $4,000. I think that's the math, right?
It's something like that.
So
you do it.
Yeah, give me that.
Give me that. All right. Moving on. Little early all-star stars. It's not that early. You can actually vote. NBA.com. You can vote once a day.
Yep.
I voted. Teams. You did. I have not voted yet. I am still trying to figure out what I want my list to be. But let's start with the West. Let's give me guards first. Guards in the West, Chris. All-star starters.
All right. So should we do if it happened today or what we think will be?
What we think it'll be come, January when they actually put it down.
Okay. Because I have a problem with that. Because I really want to put Stephen Curry's head. How long is Stephen Curry going to be hurt for?
They're saying I think right now it's 4 to 6 weeks.
That's tough. He can't be an all-star starter if he's going to miss that much time. And he was the guy. He is the guy. But unfortunately, he's not going to get it. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has to be a backcourt starter in the West, in my opinion. It's not just because he hit a buzzer beater against the Blazers the other night. It's because this guy is carrying OKC on his back and making them not an embarrassment in the NBA. He is my number one, and then it's got to be Luka. Yeah, you still have to. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about Luka for MVP this whole time. You got to at least include him in the backcourt for the All-Star game. So those are my two. What say you?
I had Luka, and I was split between Shai and somebody else. I think you're spot on with Steph. I think he gets in. I think he's an all-star. I just don't know if he's necessarily a starter. He'll probably be a starter because the fans are going to vote him crazy, and he's probably going to be what he is. But
because the fans,
there's the fan vote. There's also the player vote. I think that's legitimate. But my other one was Dame. Are we underselling?
Yeah,
Damian Lillard as a guard.
He's kind of fallen off,
but he hasn't really though.
He had his moment some time. For a week there,
he missed
and
some
then
time.
He hasn't fallen off, but he had his big moment, and then it's like, oh yeah, Portland's the 5th seed again. Everyone kind of forgets about Portland every year because they're up in the Northwest and no one cares.
But the players
that's
in the
a good
media
one though. I say, yeah. Dame is such a fan favorite. I mean, he's in the top 75 all time.
For sure.
Whether you
agree with that, I think Luka is your absolute lock. No question about it. I think the second spot is up for grabs. It should be between. It should be Shai. It should be. I just have a feeling that it might not be.
It's Shai, Ja, Damian Lillard, and then Booker.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
Booker's
if Cat and Gobert stay hurt, maybe Edwards can sneak in there, but not really.
Booker just doesn't
No,
get the.
but Shea's he's averaging
Shea has
31,
been
5.8, 4. It's so stupid what he's
It's
been
so
doing.
stupid. It's so stupid.
How did?
But he plays in a small market team that doesn't get a
I
lot
forgot
of.
about the fan. Yeah, we're factoring the fan.
They don't get a lot of publicity through it. So, all right. So, forwards in the West. I'm curious on this one. I struggled with this one.
So it was Anthony Davis, and of course now
it was Anthony Davis. I think that ship has sailed. I think it's LeBron. I think LeBron still gets a nod here. He's having a very good season, and he's still LeBron, right? He hasn't fallen off yet. I think LeBron gets one of those spots for sure.
Okay.
And a second one, this is where I struggled. I ended up putting Markkanen on there.
Okay.
And
yes.
Kind of the same reason of why, we said
Utah fans I think historically have been like nuts with the All-Star voting.
They have been. You are correct. That's how Rudy Gobert has made like every All-Star game.
Let's not go there with that. But okay. Hey, Bulls won. Sorry.
I know. I've had to control everything that I had in me to not game talk here. And now you brought it up, so I'm going to game talk it. Io hit a buzzer beater off of an air ball by DeMar DeRozan. So we did to Atlanta what they did to us last week.
Let's go.
Or 2 weeks ago. So fuck you, Trey. I think it's marketed, and I think it's a mix of the Utah having a good fan base, and I think there's a lot of respect around for it. And I just couldn't think of another strong forward in the West that I would be like super convinced
Paul
over him.
George. Paul George.
That was my other one.
But Lowry plays.
That was my other one. But exactly, Paul George and Kawhi, they kind of share the load, and they also miss games.
And then Zion's up there, but like, is Zion gonna be playing every night?
Zion, that did not cross my. How did I miss Zion? I feel like Titus making a top 5 list. Fuck, it's gonna be Zion. It's gonna be Zion. I'm sorry, Larry Markkanen's out. It's got to be Zion.
Okay, so then LeBron, Zion. We haven't even mentioned Jokic yet. That's just because I think we already assumed that would be the other front.
I think guy. We can move there. Jokic is your center. I think that's a lock, hands down, no questions asked.
Yeah,
unless it's Domantas Sabonis.
Oh, he's the poor man's Jokic.
Sacktown.
He's so fun. He makes the Kings actually fun to watch, though, man.
Is it LeBron? Is LeBron getting a nod here, Chris?
So I only think it's LeBron because what you said with the fans will vote for him. And honestly, though, the Lakers he's not gonna like just drop off. He's looked pretty good this year. I think it will actually beat LeBron. I think he'll actually earn it too. Like his numbers are just so much better than Lowry.
Yeah.
So I think LeBron, Zion, and Jokic. That's a strong 3 in the front court. So
Luka, Shea, LeBron, Zion, and Jokic.
I mean, no surprise. Well, Shea and Zion are kind of surprises, but yeah, I think that's pretty solid.
That's a fun team. That's a fun 5. All right, so let's move to the East and see if we can stack up a team that competes with that. Guards in the East. I don't think we're going to find the same type of.
I don't know. I think we might be in agreement here. I got Donovan Mitchell and Jaylen Brown.
Okay. It
has to be Donovan Mitchell.
I do think it has to be Donovan Mitchell. My other thought was Trey Young.
Yes, you're gonna. It's not Trey Young, but make the case. He's shooting 29% off of 7 or more attempts from 3 this year so far. The guy's been, just
but I'm being practical.
You literally just said "fuck you, Trey."
I did
a minute ago.
I absolutely did, but I'm being practical in the sense that he's a likable figure in the NBA circle.
Oh, right. You're thinking about this like from a political standpoint.
I'm not political. This is how they vote, right? Fans votes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Fans are going to vote. Who was your other pick? It was Trey and who? I already forgot because I thought it was wrong.
Jaylen Brown.
I don't think it's
the
Brown.
number one.
I think Brown is is a pure reserve. And the reason I think that is because I think Tatum is going to suck up all the votes from the Celtics.
Do you think
fans.
it's his name? Do you think it's just because it's not a fun name? It's just Jaylen Brown. It's not like Trey or even Donovan Mitchell's not that fun of a name either. Though.
No, I think it's because Tatum is going to steals all of his press, right?
Yeah, but Tatum's a front court guy, so that's why I put Jaylen Brown in there.
I agree, but you don't often see two starters from the same team. I just don't see the fans and everybody voting it through that way. So I think it's going to be Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young, and Trae Young gets in on the sheer fact of it being Trae Young, because all-star voting doesn't matter if you shoot 29% from 3-point. Hey, my other thoughts that I had scribbled down were Jalen Brunson. So
that's great, man. That's a good one. Because he's everyone's loving him in New York. He does not deserve the starter. He barely deserves being an all-star, really. There's so many other guys that are better than him so far this year. Even Harden, but I would take over Brunson.
Yeah, he was my other scribble, but I actually scratched him out. I did not scratch out Brunson. All right, so we got a little disagreement here. We'll circle back to the guards. We're locked in on Donovan Mitchell. I think that's a for sure lock for us.
Yeah.
All right, forwards. I think this one is pretty easy. You said Tatum already. I agree. Tatum is a for sure lock. Who's your other one? I think it's also a lock too.
So this is tough. Because there's 4 guys that deserve it.
4
I'll
guys.
name the 4. There's Tatum, Durant, Giannis, and Embiid. You have to remove one.
Giannis, Embiid, and Tatum.
And Durant.
You could just
Tatum and Durant.
You could just rig the system here. You could just pull a Titus and just move positions around. See, you make him
Tatum can move
center,
if
right?
he can move to the 2, that'd be great. I think I want Embiid. No, Embiid, Giannis, Tatum. Just because right now, even though I just said Durant's going to be the MVP, no, Durant's going to be the starter. There's no chance he's not the starter. It's Giannis, Durant, Tatum. No, but see, I can't make up my no because Embiid's so no, there's no. But Tatum's the best player. So Durant, I don't know. I can't. Embiid, Giannis.
So all right, I think Giannis and Tatum are locks. Giannis is super likable, right? Fan votes, everybody recognizes his dominance, great smile, broad shoulders, just a classic big man. Tatum, I think, is a lock too. I think after last year's run at the end of the season and in the finals, Tatum became a household name. If you're an NBA fan, I think you also, with his play this year, I think he's in. I think where you can split the hair is between Embiid and Durant.
Okay.
Embiid. So in that case, right, you would end up moving Giannis to the center and taking Durant and putting him as your other forward.
Yeah, right. Or wait, so that's what you're going with?
No. I'm saying like if Embiid doesn't get it right over Durant, I think those are your 2 that are going to be the argument here. So let's make the argument, right? So what's the argument for Embiid? 60-point game, dominant, true center. Kept them afloat when Harden was down. But the negative is they're kind of just, middle of the pack team, underachieving again. They're not bad, but they're underachieving versus what you would expect them to be. And then the argument for Durant is the exact opposite, right? They're overachieving for what you expected them to be based on all the shit that happened to them at the beginning of the year. He wanted to be traded, yada, yada, yada. He's still scoring like a banshee. So maybe it is Durant. Maybe
30.4.
That just convinced them.
I think so. We're predicting when this vote comes to fruition in 2 months, Embiid or Durant. I would lean towards Durant.
I would too, because I think Embiid is going to continue being the same person. Durant is going to continue getting better.
Oh, that hurts. Hey, any future employer who's doing research on me, do not listen to me. I still love Embiid, but I think Durant might get over Embiid for this.
This is the kind of honesty you can expect from Chris as a future employer.
That's right.
He does not take this conversation lightly. All right, so let's circle back then. So it's Donovan Mitchell. It's not Jaylen Brown. Can we find somebody else?
Okay, Tyrese Halliburton.
I know. I thought that too, but like that's not a name in the All-Star. That's an All-Star reserve.
It's because it's too long of a last name, right?
Correct.
It takes another year to really.
It's way too boring of a name. It's too long. It's just it's not going to work. Halliburton.
The thing is, like Maxey would be fun, but he's been hurt. LaMelo's not playing.
Yeah, Maxey would be fun. Sure, LaMelo might be fun. We're trying to pick the starters here. It's Trae Young. It's Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young.
It's Trae Young or Halliburton, yeah. Or I mean, Harden's been good too. It's just
I think Harden gets in on a reserve basis. I don't think he's getting a bulk of fan votes here.
If he wasn't who he is, that's a dumb thing to say.
No, it's extremely. It's not dumb. It's perfect.
You know what I mean, though. If he
you're
was
not
like
a 70,
newer
if you're not
guy,
a 76ers
it's like, oh, look at
fan,
this new James Harden guy.
Yeah, if you're not a 76ers fan, are you voting for James Harden? No. If you're not a Hawks fan, would you vote for Trae Young? Probably.
Yeah, it's Trae. You're right.
All right. So Trae and Donovan Mitchell, Giannis, Tatum and Durant, and then Giannis. All right. So if you're, this is weird. So if you're playing like an actual basketball game, you want the East, I think. But if you're playing an All-Star game, you probably want the West team. Luka, Shea, and Zion is like a dream All-Star team.
I think it's just a dream game, though. I don't know, because the Mitchell Young backcourt is so small.
Yeah, but like Giannis isn't. Giannis can catch oops, but I'm just thinking of like Zion catching alley-oops from Shea and Luka just being filthy.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
This is actually, the league is so talented right now. This is so fun to.
It is.
In here.
It makes sense if you look at the records, right? The East is pretty tight in the middle and bottom. The top two, Celtics and Milwaukee, are way ahead, but the West is tight. I mean, as we talked about with the Nuggets, there's
we didn't even mention John Morant, and people would be mad with that.
Yeah, Luka's going to get it over him, and I think Shea deserves it more. I don't know if I'm guaranteeing if I think that'll happen, but I
think so too. Just because
Shea needs to get in.
Level,
it's unreal how good he's been.
Well, he'll get in, but it's just I kind of wish he would be the starter.
We're gonna speak it into existence.
Let's go. I love this. So hang on, to recap. In the West, we got Luka, Shea, Jokic, LeBron, Zion.
Correct.
In the East, we got Donovan Mitchell, Trae, Giannis, Tatum, and Kevin Durant.
Correct.
It's perfect. This will be the lineup. Wait, who is one player that you think could actually not be on these starters of all the 10 that we have here?
The most likely not to be a starter?
Yeah.
Shea.
I was gonna say Shea too.
Yeah, I think it's Shea because he plays for Oklahoma City.
No one's got love for him.
No one's got love for OKC. No one's got love. So. All right. Anything else, Chris? Or you wrapped up here?
No, we're good. I'm surprised. Man, we got to 50 again. Sheesh.
Man, we're good. We got it. All right. Well, that's all we got for tonight. So join us next week where we're going to go through our classic Christmas episode. We've got. I'll give you a little sneak preview. We've got some regifting, some white elephant style questions. I wrote a song again. If anybody remembers the 12 Days of Christmas, I did not do the 12 Days of Christmas, but we got a song. We also have a poem that was rewritten. I believe Titus may have a song for us as well. So a whole slew of Christmas related activities after the fact. We'll recap the games from Christmas Day. And we'll talk about anything else that comes up, any more Bullish drama, whatever we got on the schedule. So until next time, I'm Joey Two Shots Mikrowski, and for Chris, the Stats Man Gorman, Titus out there in protocols, and Adam, the professional Bruns Mikrowski. We're out. And again, until next time, box out.